The world knows him simply as Baby Gammy, but he's only one of many Thai surrogate children.
We're talking 8 or 9 Australian surrogate children a day going through the embassy.
Is the industry out of control?
Exploitation is an almost inevitable side effect of commercial surrogacy.
I don't feel that we have exploited anybody.
I think we need a proper national inquiry that looks at all aspects of surrogacy.
The uncomfortable truths of unregulated surrogacy. Welcome to the program. When the story of Baby Gammy broke in August, it shed new light on the growing use of imported commercial surrogacy by many Australian couples desperate for a baby. In Australia, commercial surrogacy is banned except in the Northern Territory, where it is unregulated. In New South Wales, Queensland and the ACT, it's illegal to engage in overseas surrogacy arrangements. But so far there has not been a single prosecution, and the number of overseas surrogacy arrangements has increased dramatically. India is the biggest source of surrogate babies, but when India cracked down on providing babies for gay parents in early 2013, the commercial surrogacy trade in Thailand skyrocketed. Now, after the revelations around Baby Gammy and as the new Thai government moves to ban commercial surrogacy, ethical and legal issues about the rights of the child, the surrogate mother and the would-be parents are in the spotlight. Reporter Debbie Whitmont travelled to Thailand to explore this compelling and very human drama.
After more than a decade, David Markovich finally has the family that he and his wife have so desperately wanted. The only problem is he can't take them home. Instead, David, a 52-year-old lawyer from Perth, has spent the last 5 weeks in a serviced apartment in Bangkok with 8-week-old Liam and his twin brother Joe. David's brother-in-law Brendan has flown in from England to lend a hand. It hasn't been easy.
I probably feel a bit like he does at the moment. I'm just a little less vocal about it.
After years of unsuccessful IVF, David and his wife Lorraine were told they were too old to adopt children. Their last resort was paid surrogacy in Thailand. Liam and Joe were born in Bangkok at the end of June. Lorraine went back to work in Australia, expecting David and the babies would soon follow. But they haven't been able to leave.
We're just over the moon. We're just entirely in love, and my wife is waiting as patiently as she can in Perth for their return as soon as possible.
Over the past few years, hundreds of surrogate babies have flown out of Thailand on Australian passports. But since July, the Thai military government has been stopping them at the airport.
I think our tummies eased off, which is lovely.
Now David says he can't stay in Bangkok much longer. He's run out of leave from his job and he's running out of money.
If I don't return to Australia, we may lose our house. Come on, my baby. Come on, my baby. Come on. Shh. Come on, my baby. Come on.
It's a nightmare, especially with 2 8-week-old babies.
Yeah. No, nothing short of that, I have to say. I've had less than a handful of hours sleep in the last few days, and
Out of desperation, David's hired a lawyer to make an emergency application. The application is in court tomorrow. But it has to be heard in a court near the surrogate mother's hometown in the far north of Thailand. And that means taking the babies on an hour-long plane trip and a 4-hour drive. And before that, it's an hour's drive to Bangkok Airport.
Not happy, are we?
David's realised he doesn't have a suit to wear in court.
Brenda brought me a pair of trousers. I've got shorts and thongs.
I wasn't planning on appearing before a court whilst over here.
David's brother-in-law Brendan thought he was only coming to Thailand to help David take the babies back on the plane.
How are you finding looking after newborn twins?
Hectic. Caused an awful lot of chaos for the size of them.
Up until now, Brendan had never changed a nappy.
Are you enjoying it in some ways?
I think of a lot better things to do.
Very good bonding experience for brothers-in-law, is it?
It's got us stuck together anyway. I think we bond better drinking.
As David and Brendan arrive at the airport, there's good news. The Thai lawyer thinks the court will give David the order he needs. They could all be heading home to Australia tomorrow. Back in Australia, James and Danny Carrington are thrilled and relieved to be home. Their new twins, Elijah and Hannah, were among the last to leave Thailand before the shutdown.
It's a big smile.
Elijah and Hannah were born in Bangkok in May.
I think we both cried. We weren't allowed to actually hold them for 24 hours. And when we went back to the nursery the next day, we were actually allowed to hold them and feed them. And it was the most beautiful thing. Time to get your nappy changed. Here we go.
Before James and Danny left Bangkok, the Thai surrogacy trade was booming.
How's that? There were people from Canada, from America. There were people from China, South Israel, Korea, Taiwan, and it was quite amazing. You know, like we're talking 8 or 9 Australian surrogate children a day going through the embassy, but it's big. Hey, what's the matter?
James already has an adult family.
Oh, you look very tired.
But growing up gay, Danny always thought he would never be able to be a father.
Growing up gay, you sort of feel like, I'm not going to have kids. And you live with that during your teenage years and your 20s. The way the time has changed, though, people's attitudes have also changed. To now be able to do it, it's, a miracle.
What James and Danny and David have done in Thailand would be illegal in Australia. But with more and more Australians going overseas for commercial surrogacy, the international surrogacy trade is raising some difficult legal and moral questions for Australia.
I think you need to put yourself in the position of being someone who's denied or is unable to have children for whatever reason. You know, if you stop and think and put yourself in that place, what view would you take?
For better or worse, international law and Australian law doesn't give us a right to be a parent. We need to start looking at the other parties involved in this, the child, and look at the best interests of the child and the surrogate. And perhaps we should be asking questions about justice and ethics and morality.
Until recently, Thailand's surrogacy trade had managed to stay under the radar. But a few months ago, the growing number of Thai women working as surrogate mothers attracted the interest of a Bangkok TV station, Thai Wrath. a young journalist called a phone number on a surrogacy website to ask how Thai women became surrogate mothers. The woman who answered told her it was easy.
พอพี่วสุก็บอกว่าให้คุยในลักษณะเนี้ยน้องจะได้เปิดน้องก็บอกว่าพี่ไม่มีอะไรมากเลยพี่ก็แค่ไปตรวจสุขภาพถ้ามดลูกพี่แข็งแรงพี่ก็ตั้งท้องได้แล้วหรือว่าแต่ถ้าเป็นการบริจาคไข่อ่ะพี่ต้องหน้าตาดีนะพี่อย่างน้อยในผิวพี่ต้องขาว
Surprisingly, the woman whose name was Pataraman Chandua then said she was a surrogate mother herself and that she had a Down syndrome baby who'd been abandoned by his Australian parents.
ปัญหาหนี้สินและความยากจน
พอเราได้ข้อมูลแค่นี้ค่ะเราก็เลยมองว่าอุ๊ยเป็นประเด็นใหญ่ก็เลยบอกน้องว่าถ้าเราจะเดินทางไปหาเพื่อคุยข้อมูลแบบนี้เพิ่มเติมเนี่ยจะได้ไหมพี่จะไปวันนี้เลย
Pataraman's nickname is Goy.
แต่พอเราไปคุยกับก้อยแล้วค่ะเราก็ถึงได้รู้ว่าพอไปถึงบ้านเขาเนี่ยโอเคบ้านก้อยเนี่ยยากจนมาก
Within days, Goy and baby Gammy brought the world's media to Thailand.
I was convicted and I went to jail.
And before long, to Gammy's Australian parents, the Farnells.
We need to be calm.
It soon came out that not only had Gammy been abandoned, but that his father, David Farnell, was a convicted sex offender. Almost overnight, the Gammy case changed everything for Thai surrogacy.
I think if there is a bright side to the Gammy case, it is that it's shed a light on this practice that many people were actually unaware of. Australia is a major source country for intending parents in surrogacy. So in that sense, that's baby Gammy has perhaps done us all a favour to at least force a conversation around these issues that were just not out in the open.
But with all the focus on Gammy, there's been much less attention on the plight of his mother, Goy. Gammy and Goy live in an industrial town about 90 kilometres south of Bangkok, where Goy and her grandmother run a food stall that makes about $20 a day. Last year, Goy found a website that said as a surrogate she could make $12,000.
ก็อยากใช้หนี้ให้แม่เพราะว่าเขาเป็นหนี้แบบเขาโดนโกงแล้วต้องมานั่งรับผิดชอบเองเหมือนแล้วก็มันอาจจะทำให้ครอบครัวหนูมีความสุขขึ้นกับการที่ไม่ต้องมานั่งเป็นหนี้ไม่ต้องมานั่งเครียดว่าพรุ่งนี้เราจะหาเงินที่ไหนให้เขา
Goy was hired by a Thai agent, who in turn worked for a surrogacy company based in Los Angeles.
The Superior ART Infertility Treatment and Semen Diagnostic Center.
The Thai agent sent Goy to a clinic in Bangkok called Superior ART.
And the world-renowned Ginia.
Though commercial surrogacy is illegal in Australia, Superior ART is part-owned by one of Australia's biggest IVF companies, Ginia. Goy says the doctor didn't tell her he was implanting 3 embryos.
ไม่เคยค่ะไม่เคยบอกอะไรเลยเขาก็ฉีดเข้าไป3 ตัวเขาก็ไม่ได้พูดอะไรไม่ได้บอกว่าเป็นแฝดหรืออะไรที่เราไปทำเราไม่รู้ว่าขบวนการเขาเป็นยังไงเป็นแบบไหนวิธีการเขาคืออะไรหนูคิดที่ว่าเขาฉีดไป3 ตัวมันคงเป็นเด็กแค่คนเดียว
After 2 weeks, Goy found out she was pregnant with twins and that an early blood test suggested there could be a problem. The agency asked the Australian clients whether they wanted Goy to have a further test, an amniocentesis, to find out for certain.
Okay.
We ask them if you want to do further test or not. But if you do it, and if you receive this result, one is healthy and another one is not, what would you do? So it's already, the situation is already, stressful from that moment.
They decided Goy should have the test. 4 months into the pregnancy, it showed that one of the twins had Down syndrome. but no one told Goy.
ตอน4 เดือนแต่ว่า4 เดือนเนี่ยคือหมอเอเจนซี่แล้วก็พ่อแม่ออสเตรเลียเนี่ยรู้เรื่องแล้วว่าน้องเป็นดาวแต่ว่าไม่มีใครแจ้งหนูไม่มีใครบอกหนูเลย
The doctor and the company discussed the problem with the Australian parents.
It's like when the result came out, then the doctor say like, okay, so what would be your option? Like, if you want to keep only one baby, he doesn't think it's possible. He didn't think it's possible, but then what would you do? And then if we let the surrogate carry until she give birth, then there could be a problem because the baby with Down syndrome always come out like with health issue.
It wasn't until Goy was 7 months pregnant that she was told one of the babies had Down syndrome. And then, at 7 months, she said she was asked to abort both the babies.
เขาบอกว่าลูกค้าต้องการให้เราเอาเด็กออกทั้งคู่ทีแรกเลยเราก็โกรธอะค่ะเราก็ร้องไห้เลยเราก็บอกเราไม่ทำให้เราตายเราก็ไม่ทำ
Goy says that when she refused, she was told that if she didn't abort the Down syndrome baby, he'd be put in an institution.
เขาบอกว่าก็คือมันไม่ได้อะแล้วทีนี้ไปมาเขาก็บอกว่างั้นก็เอาออกคนเดียวเด็กที่เป็นดาวเพราะว่าเขาแก่แล้วเขาไม่มีศักยภาพในการเลี้ยงเด็กที่เป็นดาวถ้าเขาต้องเอาไว้เขาก็เอาไปไว้มูลนิธิเขาไม่ได้พูดว่าจะซื้อบ้านแต่ว่า
Upset, Goy says she told Joy she needed time to talk to her family. She did, and then she made a suggestion to Joy and the company.
หนูก็เลยยื่นข้อเสนอไปว่าหนูขอ 150,000 บาทเพิ่มเพื่อที่จะแลกกับชีวิตน้องไม่ต้องทำแท้งน้องหนูก็ไม่รู้หรอกว่าไอ้เงิน150,000มันจะมากน้อยแค่ไหนสำหรับเลี้ยงเด็กที่เป็นดาวแต่หนูคิดว่าสำหรับเขามันไม่ได้เยอะแต่สำหรับหนูมันเยอะเขาบอกให้หนูว่าไปเปลี่ยนชื่อหนู
The agent and the company were relieved, but Goy only got half the extra money. The Farnells ran out of cash and said they'd take Gammy instead of paying the rest.
They ran out of cash. They talked to their family back home a lot about the whole issue. And one day that they also told me that they asked me to tell her that they wanted to take the boy back home. And also then they will not pay the rest of the money.
We never abandoned him.
The Farnells have denied abandoning Gammy and asking Goy to have an abortion.
See how things go.
In the end, Gammy has stayed with Goy, and a foundation pays his medical expenses from public donations. But Goy can't hide her feelings about Gammy's sister Piper, who's now in Australia.
เราต้องยอมรับว่าเขาไม่ได้อยากอยู่กับเราเราต้องยอมรับว่าเขาคือลูกของคนอื่นเขาไม่ใช่ลูกเราหนูคิดถึงเขาตลอดทุกครั้งหนูจะเปิดรูปเขาดูตลอดหนูจะพูดกับแฟนหนูตลอดว่าหนูอยากเจอเขาหนูจะพูดกับแฟนตลอดว่าป่านนี้เขาจะเป็นยังไงเขาจะสบายดีไหมเขาจะอยู่ยังไงหนูก็ภาวนาให้ลูกอยู่ดีมีความสุขให้เขารักลูกหนูเหมือนที่หนูรักแกมมี่แล้วก็ครอบครัวหนูรักแกมมี่
Even Goy's agent, Joy, says she was traumatised and has quit the company.
This journey is not easy. It's not like any other business in the world. I couldn't even call it a business because it's a lot of emotion. It's not only about money. It's not like you are older, you're building a TV, then they don't want it, it's okay, you sell it to another. And then, yeah, because it's human being.
After 5 hours of travel, David, Brendan and the babies have made it to northern Thailand and the courthouse. The baby's surrogate mother, Patnapa, has had to come too. As their legal mother, she has to consent to them leaving the country.
Do you remember Patnapa? Yes? You remember? Yes, she's a very special lady.
Since yesterday, when it looked like David would get his emergency application to leave Thailand, things have taken a turn for the worse. The lawyers tell David the court wants to adjourn his case for a month.
I'm not prepared for the judge to adjourn this hearing. I do not agree to this hearing being adjourned. I want it today. No. Absolutely not.
I think the court doesn't want to make a decision.
He's scared. It's going to be like a study case, right? If we get through today, it's going to be like another, so they worry.
It'll set a precedent.
Yes, it's very big news, and so they worry.
They know they're the first court to make this decision.
Yeah, they worry about that. It's going to be like them. If something wrong, it's going to be them. So,
as feared, the judges adjourn David's case for a month and refer it to a higher court. But they suggest there might be another way for the babies to leave Thailand.
Just come to Singapore with the babies, and then you come back.
Outside court, David and the lawyers are already working on a new plan. The idea now is for the baby's birth mother, Patnapa, to fly out of Thailand with them. The problem is that Joe and Liam will need Thai passports, and they don't have them.
When will we find out how quickly the passport can be done, whether it can be done tomorrow?
The lady say 1 day, take 1 day.
So same day?
Yes.
So we should be able to fly out Friday night?
Should.
But don't book it yet, because otherwise you have to change on Monday, Friday or Monday, anyway. So, is it good?
It's fabulous. If it works, it's fabulous.
Good luck.
Good. Okay, this application has been adjourned off.
David calls Lorraine to change the flight bookings to Australia.
The passport office in Bangkok should be able to issue a passport on the same day, I'm told.
Patnapa seems happy to have been able to spend time with the babies.
จะเป็นตอนคลอดอะค่ะมันรู้สึกวิวยังไงไม่รู้อะตั้งแต่แบบตอนพอเอาน้องออกอะมันจะรู้สึกแบบมันเหมือนอะไรแล้วลูกขาดหายไปจากท้องเราอะไรอย่างเงี้ยรู้สึกแค่นั้นแต่อันนี้ก็รู้สึกแบบพอเขาไปอยู่กับพ่อแม่เขารู้สึกแบบดีใจกับเขา
Patnapa says that Liam and Joe will have a better life in Australia than she could give them in Thailand.
คิดว่าเขาแบบอนาคตเขาน่าจะดีอะค่ะการศึกษาที่ดีเพราะว่าถ้าเกิดอยู่กับเราก็คงธรรมดาเรื่อยๆเพราะว่าอย่างลูกสาวก็คงแบบใช้ชีวิตตามปกติทั่วไปค่ะ
It's probably true, but it raises uncomfortable questions about why commercial surrogacy is okay in Thailand but against the law in Australia.
I think it's probably wise for us to go back to the reasons why we have uniformly prohibited surrogacy on a commercial basis throughout Australia and why it's prohibited in so many countries all over the world. My feeling is that exploitation is an almost inevitable side effect of commercial surrogacy. You're always going to have that inequality of power.
Patnapa lives in a small town with her mother and her 4-year-old daughter. She's using the money from the surrogacy to rent a shop where she plans to sell massages. But she's worried because she's still waiting for the final payment, about $5,500.
เขาก็คือเพราะว่าเงินก้อนหลังหนูรู้อยู่แล้วว่าน้องต้องบินข้ามประเทศก่อนนะคะคือน้องออกไปได้คือที่คุยกับเอเจนต์ไว้ก็คือพอน้องเข้าแบบผ่านด่านตรวจอะค่ะเข้าไปรอที่จะขึ้นเครื่องเงินก็จะเข้าบัญชีหนูแหละ
The agencies told Patnapa that if she does what David's suggesting and leaves Thailand with him and the babies, it won't be able to help her get the rest of the money.
เหมือนที่หนูโทรบอกเขาเมื่อกี้เขาก็บอกว่าถ้าเกิดแบบหนูยอมบินไปส่งน้องที่ต่างประเทศอะแล้วเงินส่วนที่เหลือหนูจะได้หรือไม่ได้เขาบอกเนี่ยเพราะว่าหนูไม่มีคนกลางเลยเขาบอกเนี่ยเพราะว่าเหมือนเรื่องที่มากันเนี่ยคือบริษัทหนูไม่รู้เลยที่มา
The agent doesn't like Patnapa talking directly to David.
Hello.
Brokers and middlemen often have a vested interest to keep the intending parents well away from the surrogate. If intending parents actually develop contact with the surrogate, they will become aware, perhaps, of the terms of her contract. They may become aware, for example, that the huge amounts of money they're paying, only a very small amount is trickling down to the surrogate.
They don't understand maybe.
It turns out there is an issue with money. Though most parents pay about $60,000 for a successful surrogacy, only about a quarter of that goes to the surrogate mother.
So we kindly ask that you continue to bear with us and help us with the registration.
While Patnapa was pregnant, David and his wife made monthly payments into what they thought was her bank account, but it wasn't hers. The account was controlled by her agent.
ก็คือเขาบอกให้หนูว่าตัวเนี้ยบัญชีเนี้ยที่เขาให้หนูเปิดให้อะค่ะตั้งแต่หนูเริ่มทำเลยหนูก็ให้เขาไปเลยคือคุณเดวิดเขาจะโอนเข้าบัญชีนั้นที่เป็นชื่อของหนูแล้วก็เอเจนต์เขาก็จะเอาบัญชีนั้นโอนมาให้อีกหนูอีกทีนึง
I'm concerned that you're getting all of the money that we've been paying and contributing to you.
When we found out that Patnapa got much less money than David had paid her, we decided to bring them together with an interpreter.
She can't tell the number exactly, otherwise
Patnapa says that during the pregnancy, she got 10,000 baht, about $330 a month.
So 10,000 baht a month, no more.
David says he was told the minimum payment was $350 a month. But he and his wife wanted to look after Patnapa, so they paid more.
My wife was making the payments, but it's my understanding that we're paying $450 or $500 a month.
Patnapa didn't know about the extra money, and the agent didn't tell her. She missed out on nearly $2,000.
I had no idea that you were not getting all this money, and I'm devastated to find out that you didn't get it. So they've been assuming that we've been paying an additional $100 or $150 a month to the agency because we like the agency.
What made it worse was that Patnapa, like many surrogate mothers, says she had to deal with both an agent and a sub-agent.
คือเขาพยายามจะไม่ให้หนูติดต่อกับลูกค้าโดยตรงเพราะว่าเหมือนอีเมลที่คุณเดวิดเคยให้ไปครั้งก่อนก็เป็นเอเจนต์หนูเก็บ
I mean, you know,
If David hadn't had so much trouble leaving the country, it's unlikely that he and Patnapa would ever have talked about money. James and Danny Carrington have made getting to know both their egg donor and their baby's surrogate mother a priority.
It's really important that in creating a family that we want these people to be part of our children's lives as they grow up. They need to know their story. They need to know what culture they came out of, what culture they're living with. Like we have a lovely relationship now that we're home.
So we love our clothes and outfits.
We met Elijah and Hannah's surrogate mother, Bo, in Thailand.
Big smile for Mummy Bo. Come on, get that big smile out.
Her phone is full of pictures of the babies.
You got one today? Today.
Say hello, Mummy Bo.
คิดถึงนะคะคิดถึงทุกวันแหละแต่ว่าเขาก็จะส่งรูปส่งวิดีโอมาให้ดูตลอดมันก็อาจจะคลายความคิดถึงไปได้มากแต่ว่ามันก็คิดถึงอยู่ดีแหละ
We love our clothes. Yes, Hannah, that's it.
Bo has sent the babies new outfits.
We look wonderful in them. Oh, that's beautiful, isn't it? And look at Eli.
Danny sees Elijah and Hannah as a gift made possible by modern technology. And if technology can bring happiness, he says, why shouldn't we use it?
Once upon a time, yes, you had to live with whatever was dealt to you naturally, physically. These days, with technology, the world is changing. So do you say the same to a deaf person? You were born deaf, don't wear a hearing aid?
You can't pretend that the technology doesn't exist. The real issue is how can governments ensure that to the greatest extent possible it's used appropriately.
Chief Judge John Pascoe believes that commercial surrogacy should be allowed and regulated in Australia. And if so, Australians should be banned from using it in unregulated countries like Thailand.
My view is that if commercial surrogacy is allowed with proper regulation in Australia to protect the rights of all parties, then we should simply have a law which prevents children born of surrogacy arrangements elsewhere being brought back to Australia.
In Bangkok, David and the babies are Skyping Lorraine in Australia.
Is that Mummy? Is she laughing at you? I think she is.
Overnight, Lorraine has emailed the agency about Patnapa's missing money. Miraculously, the final payment of $5,500 has suddenly appeared on a Sunday morning in Patnapa's bank account.
Who knows what's going on, but I'm delighted.
But the missing money from Patnapa's monthly payments never turns up, and Patnapa doesn't dare chase it.
No, we're not.
The surrogacy company used by David and his wife, New Life, is considered one of the most reputable. New Life began in Tbilisi, Georgia. Its founder, Dr. Mariam Kukanishvili, brings egg donors from Georgia to Thailand. Last year, Mariam was one of the first to raise concerns about another Thai horror story. A young Japanese man collecting multiple surrogate babies.
In the reports, it was clear that he was expecting six babies totally. So, of course, I got very suspicious.
Mariam contacted the doctor involved, Dr. Pissett, a Bangkok doctor popular with many Australians.
I spoke with the doctor and I told him that he was jeopardizing his reputation and it was not normal to make for someone 15 babies every year. But he told okay, and then since he continued.
And New Life continued to use Dr. Pissett. It was Dr. Pissett who treated Patnapa.
เพื่อว่าเอาไข่แล้วก็ใส่ให้หนูไป4 ใบก็ถึงได้ติดเป็นแฝดน้องมาคือเหมือนหมอเขาคุยกันแล้วเราได้ยินนะคะก็ประมาณว่าแบบเหมือนเราแอบฟังเขาอะไรอย่างเงี้ย
How do they manage the
Four Corners understands that in at least one case, Dr. Pissett implanted 4 embryos and they all succeeded.
And the doctor was informed only 2 embryos must be transferred. He transferred, same doctor. He transferred 4. Surrogate mother got pregnant on 4 babies, and then we have to send surrogate mother from Thailand to Georgia, made their embryo reduction.
Embryo reduction isn't legal in Thailand.
Do you think that could have been handled better, that case? Did that worry you?
Yes.
2 weeks ago, Dr. Pissett was questioned about breaching Thailand's medical guidelines. He's denied any wrongdoing.
We're talking about practices that really wouldn't be permitted in Australia, would be considered ethically and probably legally terribly troubling. So I think we need to look at something like that from that perspective. It's not good enough for our country, and why is it good enough somewhere else?
Since the shutdown in Thailand, New Life has begun moving to one of the poorest countries on earth, Nepal. Last month in Kathmandu, Dr. Kukunishvili was already interviewing agents to begin recruiting Nepalese surrogate mothers.
In Nepal, we are going to set up a branch because of current issues in Thailand. We are going to find alternative for single and gay parents.
Back in Bangkok, David and Brendan and Liam and Joe are still at the service department. They haven't got a court order and they don't yet have Thai passports for Joe and Liam.
Oh yes, hello, how are you?
But suddenly there's a call from the Australian Embassy.
Fantastic. Look, someone will be calling Patnapa.
They want to contact Patnapa.
Yeah, she doesn't speak any English. They're going to ask her to sign a document which provides her authority for the children to leave with me. And if she can do what the consulate says.
They want David to come to the embassy.
The phone number I've got.
Sounds like there have been some top-level negotiations going on.
Look, that is my impression, that there have been some high-level discussions. It's all been kept entirely confidential.
It's little wonder. On the one hand, the embassy can't simply leave Australian surrogate babies in Thailand. On the other hand, taking them home could breach both state laws and international obligations.
I think it's a very difficult position for Australia's consular officials because their job is to implement the Citizenship Act. But international law also prohibits, absolutely, the sale of children, and that is transferring a child from one person to another for consideration, for money. Now, it's very difficult to argue that commercial surrogacy is not sale of children. And Australia has an international legal obligation, in fact, to prevent the sale of children.
Mr. Guts will hook into anything. Yes, there we go. Yeah.
I think we need a proper national inquiry that looks at all aspects of surrogacy. You have people wanting children for all of the best reasons, and then you have people wanting children for reasons that may not be so good. And I think it's such a minefield that the politicians have been very reluctant to wade into it.
In Bangkok, David and Brendan are back from the embassy with Australian passports for Liam and Joe.
Hi, what happened?
Well, there's good news and there's bad news, as always. The good news is that the Australian government appears to have struck some sort of a deal with the Thai authorities. We've been given a new list of documents which we must produce at the airport in order to be able to access.
The bad news is that Patnapa will have to go back to northern Thailand for another document.
A different document?
A different document, so...
Okay, and so how do you feel?
Oh, well, it's a partial high, partial low. It's like, I'm here, I'm resigned to the fact that I'm going to go and have a mojito.
How are you, Brendan?
Oh, well, I'm looking forward to the mojito. That's it.
This could be the last time Patnapa sees Joe and Liam. It isn't until late the next day that David finally gets the last document.
There we go. Well, that looks like it. Cup.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're there.
Congratulations.
I'm not out yet.
Take him in the front.
The flight to Australia leaves in a few hours.
Well, David, you've cut it fine. How are you feeling?
I'm exhausted. I'm just exhausted. I've been up since 4 this morning. I've just had a bit of a bite to eat now. I've got all the paperwork I understand will get me there.
You feeling confident about getting through customs?
Cautiously. As I've often felt cautiously confident about most things throughout this long journey. I'm feeling cautiously optimistic.
This could be a goodbye Bangkok. Don't want to say that yet.
Let's just wait.
What about you, Brendan? How are you feeling? Do you think this might be it?
Fingers crossed. We could be in with a chance. That's as good as it gets, I think.
It's supposed to take about an hour to get to the airport, but there's a downpour and a traffic jam, and it takes nearly 2. David will be the first to test the Thai government's new arrangements. 2 weeks later, in Perth, Thailand, seems a distant memory.
We got through the initial checkpoint and then we were pulled to one side for further questioning. And they said surrogacy, and I said yes, and they allowed us through in the end. So, we were waved off and had, did whatever we had to do. But yeah.
Joe!
Who's that?
Hello. David and Lorraine couldn't be happier with their new family. And Joe and Liam couldn't be more loved or wanted.
I think it's just a real shame that the focus has been on baby Gammy and this other case, and not on all of the positives that are coming out of surrogacy.
David and Lorraine have tried to do commercial surrogacy as fairly as possible. They say they want Joe and Liam to know how they were born and to know their birth mother. But it's hard to know what commercial surrogacy will mean in the future for many other babies who, according to the law, don't have Australian parents and may never know who their real parents are.
The current situation, I think, leaves children at the risk of literally being marooned, their parents left in limbo, and leaves very vulnerable women and children open to the risk of very serious exploitation. I think Australia as a first world country and a leader in human rights has to recognise that your commitment to human rights doesn't end at the customs barrier.
There are good reasons for Australia to sort out its position on commercial surrogacy, but it won't be easy.
I don't feel that we have exploited anybody. We entered into a commercial relationship. We nominated Pat Napper. We didn't approach her. You can't escape the reality that we come from a rich country and she comes from a poor background. There's no way around that. But I personally don't feel that she was exploited. I can see that the argument is there, but she saw an opportunity to make a better life for herself and she took it. And in doing so, gave us an enormous gift that money can't pay for, ever. Sorry.
Such an emotional journey, but such a fine ethical line to tread. With regard to the claims in the story that baby Gammy's surrogate mother Goy was implanted with 3 embryos, we approached the clinic involved, but they declined to cooperate. Through their Thai solicitors, in a letter to the ABC dated yesterday, Superior ART has said such claims are false because company policy prohibits implanting more than 2 embryos. We're posting 2 statements on our website that may be of interest. One is from the Attorney-General's Department about the way the government deals with overseas surrogacy, and the other is from Janea, a key Australian investor in Superior ART. Next on Four Corners, a special 2-part investigation. We go inside an industry that sells a legal drug linked to the deaths of 5 million people each year. to find out how the tobacco industry has continued to survive and prosper. Until next week, good night.